Sanbonani, and welcome to Our Africa, the show that keeps you up to date with all the news making headlines across the African continent. For this week, we cover the four corners of the continent, from Cape to Cairo, Mombasa to Lagos. We bring you business, politics, health news, and arts and culture. I'm Leseho Mogonane. First thing first, let's take a look at the story of the week. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said his country would normalize relations with neighboring Eritrea following a historic meeting with President Isaias Afwerki in Asmara. The meeting was aimed at ending decades of strife between two countries. Abiy says the airlines will start operating, the ports will be accessible, people can move between the two countries, and the embassies will be opened. The wall will be destroyed and a new bridge will be built between the two countries. The Horn of African nations have remained at loggerheads since Ethiopia rejected a United Nations ruling and refused to cede to Eritrea land along the country's border. The mayor of Dakar, Khalifa Sall's appeal trial in Senegal, and the hearing got disrupted. The defense team boycotted the trial after Sall's many supporters raised their voices in court, angry at the judges following the successive rejection by the court of the defense's motions. The appeal trial began on the 9th of July 2018 after the mayor was sentenced to 5 years of prison for corruption.
Tous les recours, toutes les demandes de la défense de Khalifa Ababacar Sall ont été systématiquement rejetées. Et le juge se retire et il vient, il dit rejette, sans motiver en quoi que ce soit cette décision. Vous savez, ceci est la manifestation flagrante, est une preuve flagrante de sa partialité.
The Guinean capital of Conakry was paralyzed as a 25% hike in oil prices fueled a general strike marked by clashes. A taxi was set alight by young protesters who threw rocks at police in Kisoso, a southern suburb, and riot police responded with tear gas. Buses and shared taxis in the seaside capital stayed parked as young people blocked some of the main roads. A senior civil servant stated that even if public transport was working, no one would dare go out in this half-peace, half-war atmosphere. The government needs to assume its responsibilities. Rights groups regularly hit out at the large number of casualties during political and social protests in Guinea.
On existe concrètement que l'État diminue le prix du carburant à 8 000 francs. Parce que si l'État augmente le carburant et il nous laisse avec les marchands sans diminuer le prix et les taxes, ça va retomber sur la population. Nous sommes fatigués.
Aujourd'hui, le gouvernement veut nous payer sa gabegie durant ces 8 années et c'est la chose qu'on ne veut pas accepter. On veut que le carburant revienne à 8 000. C'est simplement ça et je crois que c'est notre droit et ce droit doit être respecté.
Still in Guinea, hundreds of civil servants took to the streets of Guinea-Bissau to demand a hike in the minimum wage and better living conditions. The protest was organized by the Union of Guinea-Bissau Workers, UNTG, which regroups 8,000 out of the West African country's 13,000 civil servants. Demonstrators marched from the outskirts of the capital Bissau to its center. UNTG Secretary General Julio Antonio Mendoca stated that it is intolerable for government to raise the wages of ministers and parliamentarians while at the same time other public servants are paid next to nothing.
Nós não podemos ficar à espera que tudo venha do céu. Temos mesmo que assumir a liderança desse processo e reivindicar os nossos direitos, porque nós, que somos trabalhadores dessa terra, nós é que produzimos a riqueza.
A group of Roman Catholic laity movements in Democratic Republic of Congo has announced 3 days of nationwide major actions in August aimed at forcing President Joseph Kabila to resign. The peace and stability of the country as well as that of the region are under threat, the Lay Coordination Committee declared in a statement released after weekend planning. Lay leaders of the church, which is a powerful force in the vast Central African country, will issue an appeal for general mobilization in all key sectors of the nation in its first big actions to take place on the 12th to the 14th of August. Ugandan police fired live bullets and tear gas to break up a crowd of demonstrators who had gathered to protest a controversial tax on the use of social media. Now, since the beginning of the month, access to media such as WhatsApp, Facebook and Twitter, as well as dating sites Tinder, have been blocked unless users pay a 200 shilling daily tax. Now, in a statement, President Yoweri Museveni justified the move, saying many citizens did not pay their taxes as they were meant to and should not donate money to foreign companies through chatting or even lying on social media. The rally was led by singer and parliamentarian Bobby Wine, real name Robert Kyagulanyi, whose election last year was fueled by social media. UNICEF stated that the Nigerian army released 183 children after clearing them of any ties to Boko Haram. The children aged between 7 and 18 were released in Maiduguri, the capital of Northeast Borno State, after being detained and investigated for any links with the jihadists. Mohammed Fall, UNICEF's representative in Nigeria, stated that the 8 girls and 175 boys are first and foremost victims of the ongoing conflict, and their release is an important step on their long road to recovery. The statement did not say how long the children had been detained. Boko Haram's 9-year-old fight to establish a hardline Islamic State has claimed at least 20,000 lives and displaced more than 2 million people.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Chiwebu Watai, approved the immediate release of 484 children associated with armed groups who were in the custody of this theater for some time. These children will be given a comprehensive and all-encompassing psycho-social counseling, medical support, de-radicalization and rehabilitation before reintegration into the wider society.
Of children is consistent with international norms and standards in accordance with the special status of children's needs as well as their rights. And this has been upheld by the Nigerian Army. We thank you so much, General, for taking up this responsibility in working alongside with us to ensure that our children will really get the best start in life.
President Cyril Ramaphosa is on state visit to Saudi Arabia. He left Nigeria earlier this week after meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari. President Ramaphosa will meet with the Saudi king in a visit aimed at strengthening economic ties between the two countries. He'll then jet off to the United Arab Emirates for a meeting with the UAE Crown Prince and other leaders of government. The presidency says he'll use the opportunity to discuss the upcoming investment summit and will invite business and government delegations from both countries to the BRICS summit. The official campaign by Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta to become president of Mali kicked off under heightened security 3 weeks before election. Mali's incumbent president, who took office in 2013, and opposition frontrunner Soumaïla Cissé are expected to be the 2 main candidates of 24 hopefuls. More than 30,000 security and defense officers have been mobilized to secure candidates on the ground amid fears of possible jihadist attacks. Mali has been badly hit by an Islamist insurgency in the north, which has spread south and into neighboring countries despite peace efforts. France, the former colonial overseer, intervened militarily in 2013 to help government forces combat al-Qaeda-linked jihadists, but attacks have steadily worsened in recent years. Now, in a statement this week, the EU Election Observation Mission in Mali said more than 80 election observers from the European Union will be present for the polls.
Avec la fragilité du Mali, il n'y a aucune raison qu'on change. On ne doit pas changer de président, on doit continuer avec le président qui est en train de restructurer l'armée, qui est en train de faire les infrastructures, qui est en train de tout faire pour que le Mali ait sa dignité.
Je crois que le peuple malien n'a pas regretté de l'avoir choisi en 2013. Parce que n'eût été lui, aujourd'hui le Mali ne sera pas ce qu'il est. On ne saura pas nous retrouver comme on l'a fait aujourd'hui.
Southern Africa now. President Emmerson Mnangagwa's election campaign rally took place in Bindura, Harare, where he preached, "We won't return farms to whites," a message similar to former President Robert Mugabe. However, soldiers were not amused when people started walking out during the president's address. The soldiers tried to block a crowd charging away from the rally venue like animals running away from a predator in the wild.
People are walking out during this rally when the president is still speaking. Walking out.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has committed to invest 10 billion rand into the South African economy. This as part of President Ramaphosa's drive to raise a minimum of $100 billion in new investment to drive job creation and economic growth in SA. Most of this will go to energy and power generation. Minister Jeff Radebe said the pledge of 10 billion rand in investment was an exciting endorsement of President Ramaphosa's investment drive. Minister Radebe is part of the delegation accompanying President Ramaphosa on his courtesy visit to Saudi Arabia. President Muhammadu Buhari will commission the first phase of the Abuja Light Rail project. The monorail system is the first of its kind in West Africa. It's aimed at easing the traffic congestion in the capital city of Abuja and link 13 communities across the city. The project has been in the works for over 11 years now. Mali's incumbent President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, who took office in 2013, and opposition frontrunner Soumaila Cisse are expected to be the two main candidates in the July 29 polls out of a field of 24 hopefuls. Mali has been badly hit by an Islamist insurgency in the north, which has spread south and into neighboring countries Burkina Faso and Niger, despite peace efforts. France, the former colonial overseer, intervened militarily in Mali in 2013 to help government forces combat al-Qaeda-linked jihadists, but attacks have steadily worsened in recent years. Now, last Sunday, 4 civilians were killed and dozens wounded, including 4 French soldiers, in a bombing in northern Mali amid a spate of attacks. Now, in a statement this week, the EU election observation mission in Mali said more than 80 election observers from the European Union will be present for the polls. Nestled high in the Lesotho mountains, skiers and snowboarders from across the world rub shoulders in one of Africa's leading ski resorts, which hopes to establish itself as a leading alternative destination for winter sports.
I found that our European guests and American guests and stuff which come down into this direction, they generally actually come here as a unique destination. They don't come here because it's 1 kilometer of skiing. They don't come here because they expect massive mountains. They do, however, come here because they like, great, it's skiing in Africa, it's a bucket list, let's do it. You know, Monte Campion and Aosta Valley, those resorts are pretty big. You know, you're looking at resorts that have up to 40, 50 kilometers worth of piste. However, what Afri-Ski offers, you know, even though we only have 1 kilometer of piste, it's a perfect stepping stone for our guests. You know, so our guests may want to learn skiing or snowboarding. They may actually want to just for the first time kind of see what it's about. And Afri-Ski is the perfect stepping stone. You know, so the terrain is designed around beginner intermediate guys, so they can get to learn the basics before they go into their holiday overseas.
Thousands of people demonstrated in Casablanca to denounce the condemnation of leaders of the protest movement Hirak. The demonstrations were triggered by the death of a fish vendor crushed in a dumpster in October 2016 when he objected to the seizure of his goods. According to the local authorities, there were a few hundred people. The crowd made up of left-wing activists, trade unionists and relatives of the detainees walked for more than 2 hours in the center of the economic capital of Morocco under the watchful eye of the police. Cameroon's President Paul Biya said he will seek re-election in a vote scheduled for October 7. Cameroon's president has confirmed that the country will hold its presidential election on the 7th of October, removing all doubts over whether the violence-stripped oil-rich nation would make it to the polls. Elected in 1982, the 85-year-old is Africa's oldest and longest-serving president, will bid for another term. The vote will take place in a context of mounting problems in the oil-rich state, which faces an insurgency by Anglophone separatists in the west and bloody incursions by Boko Haram jihadists in the north. The main opposition, the Social Democratic Front, has already designated its candidate, Joshua Ose. Other declared candidates include Akere Muna, a lawyer and former vice president of Transparency International.
Qui se respecte et qui se veut démocratique, que le président de la République, qui sera par ailleurs candidat à sa propre succession, soit contrairement à ce candidat le détenteur exclusif de la date de convocation du corps électoral. Dans d'autres pays qui se respectent, où la démocratie est ancrée, la date d'élection présidentielle est connue au minimum 12 mois à l'avance.
Pas surpris, le chef de l'État est un légaliste, c'est un républicain. Il le fait dans le cadre de la loi à respecter les délais. Et il a bien fait de convoquer cette élection présidentielle qui va être un grand moment de vérité républicaine, parce que le peuple souverain choisira démocratiquement et dans le cadre de l'ordre de la République le destin qu'il veut, qui doit être le sien.
Le corps électoral vient d'être convoqué. Dans 10 jours au plus tard, les candidatures devront être déposées, déclarées. Eh bien, l'opposition n'est pas parvenue à se donner la main, à avoir une candidature de large consensus.
Earlier on during this week, we had a discussion on this story. Let's take a look. Now, presidential elections will take place on the 7th of October, and this is amidst a worsening security situation in the southwest and northwest Anglophone regions. Is this a good idea to have the country participate in elections while the security situation is worsening and people are scared of leaving their homes amidst these attacks?
It is not an ideal situation, of course, because we are in Cameroon an issue that relates to a Boko Haram terrorist attack, and also the fact that there is tension between the southwest of Cameroon and northwest of Cameroon as well. So the situation is not really ideal, but from what the government said, they want to still hold the election. So I believe that they will put in place enough resources so that things run into a normal, in a normal way, basically.
We know that according to a government report last month, separatists had killed 74 soldiers and several police since later 2017, while more than 100 civilians had also died over the past 12 months. It seems as if finding a solution to such killings and these security problems is taking a toll on the country. What interventions should be looked into right now?
Right now, the issue is extremely complex, in a sense that, you know, if you discuss with some Cameroonian, they will give you different views. Most of them are talking about the past reality that relates to the colonialism, in a sense that a country like Cameroon was colonized by both French and English. So there is an ambiguity in terms of the way things were run, in a sense that there is one state which within two different types of constituency. You have an Anglophone constituency and a French constituency, and those two are actually clashing. So it's creating a sense of confusion during the election, and for that sense, it is extremely difficult. Some others are talking about also the fact that Paul Biya has been in power for more than 35 years, and therefore they truly believe that he has nothing to offer on the table of each Cameroonian. And within that, you have also the hidden link that relates to the external forces from Europe. And this is a fact that usually manipulates all the African countries. So it is extremely complex in that sense.
And we know that with this situation, quite a number of citizens have been displaced. And it seems as if this issue has not been looked into to make sure that they prevent people from leaving Cameroon.
You see, you know, let's say everything is basically related to the interest that the leadership has at heart. And it seems like it is in the favor of maybe the government to leave this situation as it is, because I don't understand why holding an election in a current situation like that. We know that Paul Biya has been in power for more than 35 years. And the French input has been drastically there in terms of the multinationals and so forth. And the frustration of the people is still there. And we have the feeling that Paul Biya is not responding to that. So therefore, it is just the intention of the government to leave a sour desire in the tongue by acting like that, because we don't really understand what is happening on the ground. Yeah.
And now in studio we do have Dr. Magdalene Meyer, a Cameroonian activist. A very warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
The presidential elections have been scheduled for October 7th, and this is amidst a worsening security situation in the southwest and northwest Anglophone regions. Is this a good time to be having these elections whereby people have been stuck in their homes because they are scared of these attacks? Will they be able to be going out there to actually go and vote when October 7th comes?
October 7th, 2008, elections have actually been, it's alleged that elections have been moved from 2008 to 2009. What's have come that BBC received a letter from the President of the National Assembly of Cameroon, stating that Paul Biya sent a letter that elections would be moved from 2018 to 2019.
Okay, so meaning that it's not going to be taking place this year, it's taking place next year. Okay, and at this point, do you think that Cameroonians are ready for that?
Normally, the shift from this year to next year is a move to prepare the people, I think.
And looking at the security attacks that keep coming up in that area, it seems as if not much intervention is taking place. Looking at what the president is trying to put in place in terms of programs, what have the people on the ground have said about those programs that he has put in place to try and stop those attacks from taking place?
The nature of attacks needs also to be defined, you see, because what seems to go out there, that it is the government attacking the people. But you see, there is also a group of people that they want secession, who have given themselves independence. This independence was declared sometimes in 2016, I think, and they declared their own country separate, which was not authorized by the president of the country. This group of people, because of the anger and emotions, it's all about emotions. What they are doing is, it is alleged that they actually attack school kids that are going to school because they want to make it appear that, or they want everyone to join them in the move to boycott everything that will make Cameroon functional.
Now, Paul Biya is 85 years old and is Africa's oldest and long-serving president. His supporters are already urging him to put his name forward. What is your take if he had to stand for another term?
Actually, he has long overdue, if you go by what Dr. Uri said. He has long overstayed his welcome. People have asked so many times that President Paul Biya should drop out. There was a time that it was even said that his very own son had advised him to drop from power but that is not happening. You see, so you know, in the African societies, there is always although we are independent, we've got independence. Yeah, we are independent. There is always the neoliberal, you know, there's always neoliberalism that is functioning. Like the European powers, they still control and lead or tell African presidents what to do. They are kind of like robots in their own country. So, yeah, so probably as long as the European power, which in the case of Cameroon is France, is there to support and lead him. They have the money, the financial, you know, power. What Paul Biya will stay there if they support Paul Biya. You see, like even now with the killings that you mentioned earlier on, it is again alleged that these superpowers, France, America, and Canada, sponsor the killing of the military in the country.
And that's all the news making headlines across the African continent for this week. From Milese Khomokwanane and the rest of our Africa team, Salani Gahle.